sellout for bringing my kid into this psychotic world that we live in, or that I chose to exist in, because it wasn't his choice up until it was. So, but I was telling Melissa, dude, everybody wants a national level wrestling club. And that's true, right? Like everyone, like if you read like the bios of all wrestling clubs on Instagram and on Twitter, it's all like national level, blah, 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 blah. Until it's time to go to national level events. And then nobody wants to fucking go to Tulsa. And I get it. But like you can't have both, right? Like it wasn't until I really started. Oh fuck, my trigger's out of pellets. I'm gonna beat his ass.
As we're talking about crazy wrestle dads.
Dang it. But like it wasn't until Don Allback sat me down one day and was like, because he was like, man, he came into my life at like such an important time. I was like kind of broke, and he helped me out financially. Like he would always pay me up front for shit that he probably didn't have to. And he even lended me money once. But he had just this infinite wisdom in business that I didn't care. Like at first I just didn't care about it. But like, you know, you got a family, you got to care about it, you know? Like you kind of got to put food on the table. And man, he came into my life at such an incredible time. And like he gave me advice on running a wrestling club more like a business. And he's like, listen, nobody wants to go to Tulsa Nationals. No coach wants to go to it, but you gotta, because it's proving grounds for your highest level athletes, but B, it's nationally respected as the thing, right? And yeah, you got to go to Fargo, and it sucks, and it's 10 days of misery, but you got to do it.
Fargo's way cooler than Tulsa Nationals, Mike.
No, it's not.
Yes,
it's the same
it
thing.
is, bro. Fargo is a rite of passage for a youth wrestler. That is like where you go to level up.
You're literally saying the same thing for 6th grade, 7th grade.
Yeah, but I don't know if you need it at that time.
That's where you go if you want to level up, right? It is. It's, you know, it is. It's, we can't ignore that. It's the same tournament. It's the exact same tournament.
Yeah, but that's like, dude, there's like ages. So those ages make everything. Like, dude, listen, you can not go to Tulsa and still win Fargo and win NCAAs, right? Like, and yes, you can do that with Fargo too, but it's a lot less, bro. There ain't too many dudes that are winning NCAAs that weren't at Fargo.
That trend has slowed with the reemergence of the cadet world team.
Okay.
You got me?
Yeah.
So like the cadet world team spot and or world championships, really, if we're really gonna be honest about it, it's probably more just as prestigious in this country to be on the cadet world team as it is to have won a world medal. It's just as prestigious. But that has, because guys are like aiming every barrel of every gun at that, we don't get the best. Like juniors when you were a kid, like the senior division at Fargo, killers. But now the cadet tournament is better. It just is for a number of different reasons. I think first and foremost is some of those kids like you got to remember, Fila cadets or now UWW cadets is a different age group. So it's under 17. Whereas, so juniors are still wrestling. Some juniors are still wrestling at the world team trials. But also the junior, like it's very hard to get a kid that's committed to a college to go to Fargo after their senior year. Why would they do that? Because they can go train at their college. Like it's almost, if there's a high level recruit and they graduated as I can't think of a time where they went to Fargo and like in the last 3-4 years. I'm sure that there's instances, but it just doesn't happen as often.
Well, I think you bring up a good point now that we're on this topic, and I think about it a lot because if you look, I could just, I don't want to talk about myself, but I can use my career as an example. And if you look at the medal stand, when I placed in states my senior year, I was the only kid that wasn't a little kid state champ or placed in the little kid states. So my point to that is, how important is that stuff? Because I feel like, and this might be crazy, but like I feel like I started wrestling like really in 4th grade, and I feel like that might be a little too late. Because if you look at like world champs and stuff, like I don't necessarily think you have to be competing at a younger age, but I think like those kindergarten ages, like that's essential just to get your movement down, like as you're developing as a human, to be able to develop like falling. You know what I mean? I just think there's a difference there.
Yeah. How important is it? It is, first of all, it depends on the athlete. Second of all, and I know that that's a freaking cop out when people, it depends on the athlete. No shit. Yeah. Okay. There's going to be Jaden Cox everywhere, right? Like the anomalies. But how important is it? I don't know. I think you can be successful and start in 7th grade. I think you can.
Is there an Olympian or someone that you know of that is an example of that? Because I don't know if it exists. Because like when you look at everyone who's like come up, there's all pictures of them when they're like babies with medals around their neck.
Well, let's see. 57, Gilman started wrestling young. Dayton's been wrestling since he was a baby. 65, Yanni's been wrestling since he was a baby. 70, Zane's been wrestling with, he was on tour with Churto when he was 8. 74, Dake, he wrestled young. 79, Burroughs was a Winslow Township kid. He wrestled when he was a baby. David Taylor, yeah. So Jaden. Jaden. He started later.
How late?
I don't know exactly, but I know it was later than most. Certainly not like, kindergarten or whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there are examples. I think you can be. But something tells me that those people just didn't find wrestling at that point. They were doing something super athletic to get those motions down. I think you're right about that. I think developing the basis for athleticism at that age is so huge, right? It's so friggin' huge. And that's one of the problems that I've had with Jack, is that like he's the most of the basis for athleticism that he has accrued over the last 10 years of his life, from age 4 to 14, has been through wrestling and strength training, because that's just what he likes to do. Yeah, we put him in baseball, but begrudgingly. He played soccer poorly. We had him in gymnastics. This is what he liked to do. He just always gravitated towards wrestling. And I get it. It's like, you want to do what dad does too. Like there's a little bit of that, right? But it's just, he had that kind of in him pretty early, and you can't do that on a baseball field. He just didn't. He was like, man, this is dumb. Like there was a point where like I started to stoke the fire too. Like he was like, oh, we got to get I think he sucked at bat. Like he was just terrible at hitting things. Like once they moved from like coach pitch to like kids pitching, he's like it was all over. It was all over. You know, like and I'm like, and he's like, Dad, I can't hit the ball. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm sitting in the stands, bud. But I said to him, I'm like, well, let's get better at it. He's like, okay. And so there was like a time where I would do soft toss to him and he'd hit it against the fence. And that I took about 2 1-hour sessions for him to just roll his eyes at it and be like, no, I'm not. I'm okay. I'm fine. Then don't right. But I've never come across that with wrestling. Never once. Like tomorrow we leave at 10 a.m. And he's like, dude, let's go. And he's 3 pounds under. Well, he will be tonight. He's probably a half pound over right now. Right. But when we're done with practice, he'll be at least 3 pounds under, maybe more. So it's not like he has to get weight off. But before we get on the plane tomorrow, he's like, let's go get a workout in. I'm like, okay. I'm like, for what? He's like, well, you said I need to move my feet better. And then I'm okay, cool. Let's do it. Yeah, sure. No doubt. You know? So yeah, I think they have to be doing something at kindergarten. They have to be gymnastics is obviously the building blocks for motion in all sports, I think. So I think we can safely say that that's like the easiest way to do it, but it could be any sport. What did you do? You ran?
I wrestled and I ran and I played soccer begrudgingly. I didn't
Right.
like it till 5th grade, and they realized like, oh, this kid can run all day, and they would just put me on the best player, and I would just run them down till they couldn't breathe anymore. But I was like, you know me, dude. Like I was a kid who'd run across the mat during gymnastics.
Stop. That's amazing. That's so indicative of like that's just you. That's wonderful. You just run him down, just drag him into the deep waters, dunk his head once. Oh, you still breathing? Okay, dunk his head again. It was great. That's wonderful.
Yeah, dude.
Sorry, go ahead.
My dad would get a kick out of it too, because he would just like stay. He's like, oh, Jimmy's gonna drown this kid. But it was my wrestling coach. My wrestling coach was my soccer coach, Mr. Borowski. And after 2 seasons with him, he's like, oh. But yeah, you know me, dude. I had no athletic ability. Like you were still teaching me when I was in college, you know what I mean? And it was just like coordination was never really a thing, and no one really like took the time. It was usually like, oh, you have no coordination, figure it out, you know. But we had Kelly Starrett on this week, which was like huge because I remember we used to do mob hop and stuff. But
dude, his book saved my life, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Couple Leopards saved my life. For real. No bullshit.
It was a game changer for all. And I'm not like just okaying you. The reason I'm saying it like that is because like, yes, like a lot of people, me included.
And I can't I tell everybody about it. And like I always preface it like it's a dumb title, but if you read it, it makes sense. But yeah, it saved my life, dude. I couldn't feel these 3 fingers for about 2.5 years. It's fucking scary, dude. And they were like, oh yeah, we just fuse. You're not fuse my ass. Get the hell out of here. You ain't touching my spinal cord, dude. No. You know, knees, shoulders. Yeah, go ahead, work on it, dude. But no, you're not sticking my spinal cord, dude.
No, and we've dove too deep into that stuff as a society as being the answer, and people don't even question that. But to get back to what he was saying on the podcast was like, you know, the Russians used to watch kids like on the playground and used to watch them jump off ladders, right? And how you could land would be your ability to move on to the next progression of whatever, if it be sports specific or you know, movement specific. And there is nothing like that. I know you used to do a little bit of that stuff with the little younger kids, right? Is that just something as a coach that you need to throw into that, or is it something like separate from sport that you think needs to be a part of it?
I think I did that because I think there's a hole in society. There's no safe place for kids to run around anymore and play. And There's just no safe place to do it anymore. So why not? So my idea was very simple. I mean, I had a shitbox tin shack in Morganville, New Jersey. I just figured I'd just hang ropes from everywhere. That's fun. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I was in my 30s and it was still fun. You know, I figured I'd put, balance boards and balls, soccer balls and things like that around, and they'll play with them. And you know what? They did every time, every time. You started with me when we were at Velocity, and it was like this. We had every bell and every whistle, and the kids didn't use this shit. I threw a couple tractor tires in the back of the place when we got to Morganville, and hung some ropes from the ceiling, and I'm a genius. So it's like, yeah, I think it's just a major hole in society, man. These kids don't play. They just don't play. You see it. Like these kids come in. Some kids will come in a half an hour early just to play with their dads. Think about what I'm saying right now, dude. Like I'm sitting there looking at them like, yeah, I appreciate y'all being here, but you could have done that at home. You probably could do that on Sundays. And maybe they do. Maybe they do. But I doubt it.
I think there's something to it though, right? And I think as a coach, especially with kids, before practice, the younger and the older ones, they'll just jump on each other and play. And that used to annoy me so much as a coach. But if you watch dogs, you watch monkeys, that's what they do, right? And going back to the dads or just like warming up, dude, I warm up every morning. And it's something that's like inside of me, a little bit of you. Like I don't get the forward roll and I get the handstand in first thing just to kind of change everything up. But I think that's like so key. And like I necessarily don't even want to wrestle at this point in my life. I just want like a mat where I can run and do gymnastics and roll.
Feels right. So it feels right to do it. It does to me anyway. I don't know. Yeah, no, here we go. Let's go. And they all know what I'm talking about. I don't have to say a word. I've literally coached wrestling in rooms from one end of this country to the other, Zagreb, Croatia, Russia. I've literally coached
like a Ric Flair promo, right?
yeah. But I'm saying like it was wheeling and dealing as much as I could, but I don't have to say a word. I just let's go, and they do, and they all know what I'm talking about, even if they don't understand the language, and they all run in the same direction. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah,
they all run counterclockwise every time. I don't know why. Just can't run clockwise in a wrestling room. There's one person I ever saw. There's one person that did it once, and it looked like nails on a chalkboard. It was Bajrang. Bajrang, the night before he was getting a workout in before Flo did that 8-man tournament, 150-pound 8-man tournament that he won. And I was there filming warm-ups or just weight cuts, I guess. And he ran the wrong way. And I was like, yo, somebody's got to tell him to stop. Somebody's got, like, this is nonsense. You can't do that. It just creeped me. I don't know. So.
Was it like trying to be different, or is that just how that dude rolled?
Oh, I think he's more OCD than even me. I think he did 5 laps left, 5 laps right.
So speaking of OCD, I want to stop there because I want to get back to that. But we have some shout outs we got to get to first. So
yeah.
So first things first, I just a loose name, and I don't know if we're gonna call it Do It Live, but the reason I called it Do It Live was because you said it like, yeah, we'll just do it live. But every time I hear that newscaster, his name's escaping me right now, I think of Monty, and like whether it be at the club or on his Instagram, Do It Live. So when Monty responded to the banner, I said, well, we reached our key demo. So mission accomplished.
First of all, I'm sure every degenerate that you're going to shout out will hear you loud and clear. That was Bill O'Reilly when he was
Bill O'Reilly. Thank you.
He was screaming at one of his producers. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Do it live. But to take it a step further than that, I think what was you said you remember Monty doing it at the club. I do too. You know, I'm sure we were out slightly south of sober once or twice, and he that those three words escaped his mouth more than once. But what really uh took my breath away, he listened to it before he would fight. Yo, that was like his, like his lunatic friend, right? Like, dude, he would sit there with fucking Bill O'Reilly on his phone and he would recite it like he was singing his favorite song. And fuck it, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. And like, I don't know what headspace that put him in, but there were very few times that I am completely speechless. But I was like being in his corner before his fight, Atlantic City. I forget who he fought, but I remember him sitting there watching Bill O'Reilly video as like as he's getting his hands around. It was unbelievable, unbelievable.
Gem of a human being that words cannot even come close. Like like you said, travel the country. Monty is one of a kind and just one of those people when you think of, you just smile and laugh, man. He's the
came
best.
and visited me in Austin.
Okay.
He came and visited me when I was living in Austin. And he's married now, no kids or nothing, but yeah, he's the same dude, bro. He's just he's he's a cartoon.
Pretty much.
He's an animation. Yeah, he's awesome.
So shout out to Monty. Another shout out to one of the homies, Gucci. And I gotta let you know that how I know we're onto something is Airey Bros has 191 podcasts, and I consider Gucci one of my BFFs, and he has not listened to one Airey Bros podcast. He'll like, he's gonna listen to this. I've listened to some. Yeah, he's listened to one he's on. But my point being is, I know we're onto something within 2 hours of us podcasting last week. She's like, "Oh, that was a pretty good episode. You guys did well." I know we're onto something if Gucci listens to the full episode. So, Gooch, thanks for the listen. Thanks for the support, Coach Fitz. Thanks for the listen, Coach Fitz. Another gem of a human that words cannot even describe.
OG, look, he and I talk about it all the friggin' time. You need foxhole friends. You look to your right, you look to your left. Those are the cats that are with you. He coined that phrase. He is an OG, dude. I love him to death. Can't speak enough good things about him. Yeah. Gucci can go screw.
Yo, can I tell you? I said him all.
I love him. Sorry.
If you would have thought, like, all the people that you introduced me to throughout the years, that me and him would be the closest.
No,
like what?
I cannot imagine. I mean, aside from the fact that you're both like super pro wrestling geeks, yeah, no, you have nothing in common. Yeah, that's a good list. Is Frankie Wells on that list?
I was just gonna say, and last but certainly not least, the Choppa himself, Franklin Wells, is another gem of a human, and I think like these are like the core Rhino homies. I know we're missing one or two, but these are like some core G's right here.
Yeah, man. I was talking about it with my wife earlier today, man. We were actually talking about you. We were talking about. She's like, "Oh, I'm like, yeah, he's still in Colorado, and Richie's out in South Carolina, and they're doing their own thing." And she's like, "Wow, we got some cool people that we just happened upon in our lives." And maybe we brought it upon ourselves with the way that we present ourselves. Maybe we didn't. But either way, we have had we've been fortunate enough to really come across some cool human beings in our travels. That's for sure. Yeah, some awesome people.
Yeah, and there's a little offshoot at South River Middle School of Rhino that goes on every day that warms my heart. If you know what I'm talking about. It warms my heart, dog, that there is like little chunks of humans from the club that are still associated.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and we might be getting too inside baseball
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
why there's no names or whatever.
Yeah, but there are some people that at one
Of
point,
course, not to cut you off. Of course, Gucci comments on himself.
yeah, that guy, he's basically like the mirror. He's like, if he sees himself, he just stops. But which, by the way, and you lived in Southern California. Listen, I don't know what it is that makes people unashamed of staring in a mirror here, but they will just sit like, look, I grew up in Jersey, and like those Guidos at the gym in Jersey were not afraid of a mirror, okay? But they would like at least kind of like do. These kids in Southern California will sit there like as they're talking to each other, just be like, and I'm like, are you? I mean, that's basically masturbation, isn't it?
It's a
Like,
brain capacity thing. We got a little bit more on the East Coast.
I don't know. I don't know. But it's just like there's just no shame involved with it at all. But that's Gucci. That's basically
Yeah,
Gucci.
that's Gucci. I didn't write it down. Do you remember where we were going to transition to before we got into shout outs? I thought we had something, but it escaped my
Oh,
brain.
we were talking about youth wrestling and youth, but I think if it's 5:05 right now, I gotta be out of here in 10, 15 minutes.
All right.
But you brought to my attention, and I'd seen it floating around Instagram. Yatuma versus Kathy. Did you watch the whole match?
I did not watch the whole match. I watched the clip that I sent you.
Okay. So I think the clip that you sent said something to the effect of most controversial.
They over dramatized it, I thought.
Fine, whatever. What they should, like, I think if you really wanted to be on the nose, it would be most poorly
Ref.
officiated. Yeah. Okay. So here's the interesting thing about it, though.
Well, it goes off of what we talked about last week. Is like a perfect example.
Fine. Hot take coming. Maybe certainly not the worst officiated match I've ever seen by any stretch, but I can justify almost all of those calls except for last one. Like last one was terrible. Last one was terrible.
How do you? And I guess we should go through it, but I think the one
We can
that's
go through
hard for me to justify is two refs missing the clock. Like how
Yeah.
you got two refs and the
That's
second
the point,
ref, isn't that his job?
Yeah. So you are correct. You would think. So sorry. Sorry. Yes, that's his job. But also, I think what happened there was, and I could be wrong. When you, oh man, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget Jim Airey, East Stroudsburg Open, second round of the tournament. It was a shit show of snow and it was terrible. But I remember, you beating this kid, or maybe you're giving up the first takedown. Pretty sure you gave up the first takedown.
No way.
Pretty sure you gave up the first takedown. Okay. And you started clawing back, and the kid's taking injury time. And you just look at me and you go, dude, his lips are blue. He's done. And I'm like,
Kid
oh,
from Princeton, TCNJ
yeah,
tournament.
okay. There you go. So was it TCNJ?
Yep.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I thought it was Strasbourg. Either way, there is something in competitors that when you smell blood in the water, you attack. When an NCAA wrestling coach sees that an official is maybe not as sure of himself as he could be, yeah, should be, right? Yeah. they smell blood in the water, and I think that's what was going on there. I really, really do. I think the Michigan State coaching staff like smelt blood in the water, and they just unloaded on him, and that guy was rattled. That dude was rattled. You saw the two of them like, and they're exaggerating with their facial expressions. They're exaggerating with their hands. So as you know, so I don't know, man. I can actually justify a few of these calls, but the last one was terrible. The last one was like, so like, I don't know if you saw him, like Caffey try and reach behind his back. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, no.
Dude, it's okay. I'm gonna send you a thing from my Instagram. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But like, it's okay. So you have me in a front headlock.
Yeah.
I reach up behind because my shoulders are 10 times more flexible than they are right now. I lock my hands around your head and neck, and then I kind of sit through and put you on your back. I've seen kids do this.
Okay.
Cam Caffey is the only person in the NCAA that I've heard can do it. I don't think I've actually seen him do it, but I've heard, like, so when I posted this video that somebody sent me, like somebody DM'd me, like a bunch of people got back to me like, dude, Cam Caffey does that, blah, 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 blah. But like, I saw him going to do it, and the good on the kid Yatuma for having seen that before. Maybe he didn't, but maybe just reacted perfectly to it. But he put him right to his back from like a sit out position from that. And it was, so that I can kind of understand going like, that's two and that's one. Kinda, I guess.
Well, my biggest thing is everyone was, or the video obviously, right, because they wanted the views and the clicks, was kind of making a big deal about the ref giving two and then taking it away. And I think that needs to be more common, right? And I also think there needs to be a very more distinct end of the action when like, because if you have it and then you don't, right, then and it's a 2-for-1 and it's real quick, there was nothing there. And I think like for people to get in an outrage about that stuff, it's just like, well, there's some human error there, and it was two, but he moves real quick, so it's not two. So instead of 2-for-1, it's nothing.
Yeah. So you're saying step out. You're saying you should go to step out.
I've been saying that. I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
I know. But I'm saying like, but what you're describing is a finite, like a very black and white step out of bounds. It's a point. Now, if you want to add in continuation and make it even more freestyle-y, then so be it. But you have that hard line of action, you know? So there's that. There's a couple like, why is almost a reversal an escape? You know what I mean? Like, is almost two is one. Why? Consolation prize? I don't know. Like, did it meet the criteria for two or did it not? So again, I just think that these guys were in way over their head. I think these guys were in way over their head. And maybe they have a ton of experience at an NCAA level. I don't know refs at all. I know like 3 of them by name, two of them by name, right? And like, so, and these 2 ain't one of them. But I think they were in over their head. But now, that said, the last call in overtime was terrible. Like, and so I'm gonna.
Can you explain the situation again?
Yeah,
you want me to try to pull it up?
Yeah. Okay. So long story short, I think these officials went so far as to get in over their heads with about let's see, with 10 seconds left, the Cam Caffey's down by 1 and is firing shots off at Yatuma, and then Yatuma gets hit for a second stall call and ties the match with 10 seconds left. So was he stalling? I don't know. Defending shots. What are you supposed to let him do? Right? Like, Could he reattack? Yeah, I guess. But like now you're putting yourself in danger. Like, is it stalling if your butt's towards the center and you're not? Like, I don't know. But whatever. The point that I'm trying to make, I guess, is the officials knew that they were probably not in the right on every single call in that match. So with 10 seconds left, he gives them the gift of overtime. He gives them the gift of overtime, which you can't do. You
No,
shouldn't do that.
I mean, I think that's the first rule to have before push out or whatever is you cannot go into overtime or win a match on a stall call. Like you had like there's, and I know you're gonna know who I'm talking about, but there was a wrestler in New Jersey who won a state title and didn't score 1 point. You know, and it was one of the worst calls of all time. So I think that needs to be a rule.
Yeah. Lukey watches, I think. Anyway,
Really?
I think he got to me about something. It might not have been this, but yeah, he gets to me every once in a while. Anyway.
Worst ripoff of New Jersey history. I want to do an undercover investigation about that because I think there was some fuckery that went on there.
You do? It could be. I don't know.
I've never heard anything. No one's validated, but the party in play was out there, and I wouldn't have put it past them.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. So they go into overtime. Tuma gets in on a leg, gets in on 2 legs, sits Cam Caffey to his butt and elbow with 2 legs wrapped up as they go out of bounds, both feet still very much in the cylinder. There is a 1/1000, maybe even more, and he hips back up into a wizard, seatbelt wizard position, and the referee goes 2 and then waves it off. That call was real bad. That was a takedown everywhere because you throw your hand up, especially towards the edge of the mat like that, you stop wrestling. Like you're done. You're in overtime. It's 9 minutes of wrestling. These guys were exhausted, so much so that Caffey got out quickly. Yatuma couldn't get out. No, Yatuma couldn't get out in the first 30-second ride out, like at all. Like I'm not saying he didn't try. I'm saying he was so exhausted that he sat there, and I don't think they moved out of the small circle. Think about what I just said, right? Like the referee blew the whistle, and both cats just looked at him like,
"I'm good, dog.
This match was over 5 minutes ago, bud.
You want this? All right.
Like, come on, you already took it away from me. I'm not doing this for you. So yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But I want to end on a positive.
All right.
There was a lot of people watching that match live. Dude,
I can remember. State, right?
Yeah. Who was for a while there, like kind of the doormat of the Big Ten.
Oh yeah.
And they would have in that arena that they were in, they would have to like, section it off so it looks smaller with like those big curtains, and they would have 8 moms in the crowd. Like, I'm not kidding, dude. I'm not kidding.
I know, dude.
It's in-state rivalry. I get it. That's fine. 5 years ago, they were not putting that many asses in the seats. So good on the staff for packing the house. For even if nobody shows up to another Michigan State match all year this year, that's a win, bro. That's a major win. So yeah, I love what Michigan State's doing over there. Coaching staff is pretty awesome, and they're into it, and they're doing the right thing. I just don't know if Cam Caffey should have won that match. And you know what? I'll say this because I think Cam Caffey is a cool, down-to-earth, well thought out, insightful human being. I think he'd probably agree with me. I think he would, right? Like, and I could be wrong, but like there's something that happens when you see these 6-year seniors, right? Like this COVID year is not doing anybody any favors. Like Cam Caffey got taken down out of bounds, resigned himself to have lost that match, and then looked up at the referee, and the referee was still interested. So he's like, huh, maybe I'll throw a wizard in. What do you think? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I think they're doing the right thing at Michigan State. I just don't know if that was the best advertisement for officials in the state.
No, but we're talking about Michigan State. I think it's a good point that you brought up because I checked. I was like, this is at Michigan State. Why are there so many people here? Like this, because I remember the days of Nick Simmons, dude, and no one cared about that program. So it's awesome to see that. And then on the Cam Cathey point, we've all gotten a gift. As a wrestler or coach, we've all walked. I mean, I've walked off the mat with you a couple times. You're like, yeah, he handed that one to you. Like we got a gift there.
Oh, dude. Yeah, my senior year in high school, state semifinals. I was choked unconscious and pinned. Referee bailed me out. I woke up in overtime. No idea how I got there. No idea how I got there. No idea. And I look around, I'm like, neutral, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool, let's go. So anyway, I gotta run.
All right. It was good talking to you. We'll see you next week. Have fun in Tulsa. I'm sure you'll have some epic stories for us. One last shout out before I forget, Brandon from New Jersey. He was shouting us out too. He's a Twitter head. He's into all the podcasts. So shout out to Brandon from New Jersey.
All right.
All right.
All right, brother, man. I got to run. I'll talk to you.
See you next week, sir.